Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's FDU Alumni Webinar Series, Cannabis, Today, Tomorrow, and Yesterday, being brought to you by the FDU Alumni Association and the Office of Alumni Relations. My name is Kenneth Lamb, Executive Director of Alumni Relations and Development at Fairleigh Dickinson University. I also want to thank tonight TD Bank for being our partner and corporate sponsor for the Alumni Webinar Series. As always, we hope every one of you are doing well tonight, and we thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us. I want to take a moment to let all of you know some tips for the best webinar experience. Tonight's event is being recorded and will be shared in a few days on our alumni website. If you're not comfortable being recorded during this webinar, please, now is a great time to log off. All participants on this webinar have been muted, and we kindly ask you to stay on mute throughout the night so as not to interrupt our speaker. Please be sure your cameras are turned off so we can focus on our presenter for this evening. At the end of tonight's webinar, we will have a short Q&A session, and some questions have been submitted prior to this event, and we'll try to get to those questions, as many of those questions as we can tonight. If you have any questions throughout the night, please feel free to submit those questions in the chat feature down below on your screen there. And tonight, I'm just excited to introduce to all of you FDU alumna, Diana McElroy, formerly, and Diana, I apologize if I butcher this, formerly Nini Urowski from the class of 2002. How was that?
Not even close, but I can't blame you. No one's ever gotten it close. It's Yamirowski, but thank you for trying.
Diana is currently Community Outreach Specialist for TerrAscend, New Jersey. TerrAscend is a global cannabinoid company that delivers new and innovative products, formulations, and brands focused on the needs of patients and consumers. As Community Outreach Specialist, Diana serves as a bridge between the community and the company. She's also a liaison with various media outlets and believes that open and honest conversations are the only way to better understand the cannabis industry. A deeper understanding will help to remove any stigmas or misinformation around cannabis so that qualified patients can find the right path to relief. Diana's experience has resulted in her serving on a variety of advisory boards for the industry, and she's also been asked to be a subject matter expert for local police departments, helping them navigate the ever-changing legal landscape of cannabis. I'm excited to welcome Diana to our webinar series, and it's my pleasure to pass the screen on to her tonight. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. Thank you, FDU. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Can you see it? Kenneth, can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's kind of like the vortex. You're not really sure what everyone else is seeing. I want to start off by saying hi, hello, and welcome. Thank you so much for allowing me to present tonight. This is very exciting for me. I'm the first in my family to attend college and graduate, and I'm also an FDU alumni. Who would have thought that all that experience I got in college with pot would have gotten me here today? My name is Diana McElroy, and I work for TerrAscend, New Jersey, a cannabis company. Currently, we are a medical cannabis company looking to transition into adult use as well. I feel that cannabis is a medicine that should be available to everyone. I'm looking to educate people on the benefits and the law surrounding cannabis. My role within the company is to have a touch point on every facet of the subject, from law to education to health, and engage with the community. I believe that having a conversation changes the stigma of a plant that had been in existence for 2 millennia. A plant that once by law was labeled a medicine, then vilified to being a criminal offense. This plant was not only classified as a Schedule I drug alongside with heroin, but it was also used as a means of discrimination. It's clearly a way to keep a people down. I strive to use history to do better and serve the community. I'd like to share with you how I got into this dynamic industry. In 2019, I decided to take my career into my hands. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, and after that, the jobs I got were lucrative, but nothing that really excited me or challenged me. I started looking around and realized that cannabis really interested me. I think I like the energy of the industry. It was growing exponentially. And my joke is, I was not smart enough for the IT bubble, but I'm definitely smart enough for weed. I started calling around. Really, the only thing I knew about the industry was the dispensaries that sold the product. I had visited a couple with friends who had medical cards. And during one of my visits, one of the gentlemen said to me, stop looking at it in just narrow vision. Think about all the ancillary businesses that are going to be needed to support this new sector. Around that same time, someone sent me an article that the little farm less than 2 miles from my house was now going to be a grow. Hamilton Farms, if you're familiar with it, in Boonton Township. I ran to that first meeting, as did some of the locals who were against having a pot farm in their neighborhood. I sat and listened to both sides and was really taken aback by the professionalism and the education that the representatives from TerrAscend in Canada brought with them. I waited for the crowd to disperse, and I walked up, introduced myself, and asked if they were going to be hiring. They invited me to come for an interview and hired me as a consultant. From day one, I loved learning what it is we do. I love the people that were involved. Most of the original crew is still here, and the wealth of information they were willing to share with me and still do on a daily basis is priceless. From my head grower, Nick D'Amelio, to our compliance, Evan Kolonowski, I was taught the plant and the laws around it. This is the industry that doesn't care what gender you are. If you bring the right stuff to the table, you'll be taken seriously. I'd like to introduce you to my company. It's a brief overview. We are a vertically integrated license holder in the state of New Jersey, which means that we could grow, process, and sell our product. We do everything from our facility in Boonton Township. We are an MSO, which means that we are a multi-state operator. We're one of the big boys in the game. We have holdings in the US, Canada, and Europe. And the Apothecarium is our brand of dispensaries, also known as ATCs. Founded in 2011 in the heart of San Francisco, the Apothecarium is a full-service, award-winning cannabis dispensary dedicated to providing patients with quality care in a welcoming environment with empathy, education, and ongoing personal support. As the founder said, we aim to build a dispensary where you would be proud to bring your mom. Our goal is to put first-time visitors at ease with a beautiful atmosphere, friendly, knowledgeable staff, and we really succeed. We purchased this brand, TerrAscend purchased the Apothecarium brand in 2019. A little bit of a history of cannabis in New Jersey. January 2010, New Jersey became the 14th state to legalize medical cannabis. June 2019, Jake's Law was passed, allowing home delivery service. Jake's Law, named for Jake Cohen, a pediatric patient who used medical marijuana while battling cancer. The bill made sweeping changes to New Jersey's medical cannabis laws, adding provisions for home delivery, increasing the amount of cannabis, and expanding access to more cultivators, retailers, and manufacturers. On February 2012, Marketplace Modernization Act passed, adult use. Possession and cultivation limits. Adults 21 and older can buy and possess up to 6 ounces of cannabis or 17 grams of hash. Patients are allowed to possess 3 ounces in a 30-day period. Patients who are terminally ill or in hospice care are not allowed, they don't have a monthly limit, and patients were not allowed to cultivate cannabis plants yet. We're waiting to see if the CRC will change that in New Jersey. Qualified New Jersey medical marijuana patients must register with the state patient registry to obtain a valid state-issued identification card from the Department of Health, NJDOH. A medical marijuana card allows New Jersey patients to legally purchase marijuana from state licensed ATCs and protects them from being charged for possession under the state's cannabis laws. New Jersey also prohibits employers in the state from taking adverse action against medical marijuana card holders based solely on their patient status. Does medical cannabis work? Cannabis has been proven to help chronic pain, chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, improve patient-reported multiple sclerosis, spasticity symptoms, improving sleep, increasing appetite and decreasing weight loss, and improving anxiety symptoms. These numbers, actually, I just was on a call with the CRC, and these numbers are actually up in New Jersey. Last number is, I believe, 1,300, over 100,000 registered patients, and I think they said 15,000 registered doctors. And they provide access to medical cannabis for patients with serious medical conditions. They promote high quality research into cannabis's efficiency in treating serious medical conditions. Each medical cannabis patient can have up to 2 caregivers. Caregivers must register with the New Jersey DOH and complete a criminal history background check in order to receive a caregiver card. Any patient under the age of 18 must have a caregiver. Medical cannabis overview. We all have an endocannabinoid system. This is actually a very new finding in medicine, and it's one that hopefully will give the founder, an Israeli doctor, a Nobel Peace Prize, because all mammals are found to have this endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system is like a lock and key mechanism, and that's what cannabis does. It unlocks the door to our system. CB1, located in the brain, nervous central system, and many other parts of our body. CB2 is found in cells associated with the immune system. CB2 receptors are much broader than CB1 and influence most of the body. Sorry, this is a little bit out of, but this is how you would obtain a cannabis card. So you would have to find a registered doctor, and that doctor would give you a recommendation. Because it is still a federally illegal substance, you do not get a prescription for cannabis, you get a recommendation. Once your doctor gives you a recommendation, you go to the DOH, your doctor puts you in, and then you go and you registered. In New Jersey, there are 17 qualifying conditions that can get you a medical cannabis card. In Pennsylvania, there's 23. Each state has a different, because every state is different. Each state has a different list of what qualifies to become a medical patient. The most common is PTSD and pain and sleeplessness. Cannabinoids. This is a name, general name for chemical compound that naturally occur in our body. Some boost psychoactivity while others may provide medical benefits. THC is responsible for that psychoactive feeling, may be beneficial in reducing pain and nausea along with stimulating appetite. CBD is non-intoxicating, commonly used for epilepsy, anxiety, and reducing inflammation that causes pain. Terpenes. Terpenes are the organic compounds responsible for the aroma, flavor of cannabis. Influences its effects by interacting with the cannabinoids. The entourage effect. Cannabis compounds work together to produce synergistic health effects. This means that while cannabinoids may be powerful on their own, blending THC, CBD, and terpenes can produce complementary medical benefits. Approved forms of consumption in New Jersey. If you've traveled to other dispensaries in other states, you might find that there's other products available. So far in New Jersey, we only have tinctures, topicals, vapables, full spectrum, which is raw flower, and lozenges, soft lozenges. We're actually hoping as an industry that the CRC will allow other forms because our patients are asking for them. Some states even have suppositories. They have all sorts of forms of administering, which make it easier for patients. Community impact of medical cannabis program. There's an increase of revenue without a tax revenue increase. Job creation. I can tell you my own company, when we opened the Grow Up, there was originally 10 of us. Within 4 months, we hired 80 people just for the Grow itself. Never mind the 2 dispensaries we currently employ at, and a 3rd one coming soon. This is a really fast growing and big employer within the state. Decrease government spending. If you legalize, all of a sudden you're not paying for the jails. Currently, the news just came out that 88,000 expungements are going to happen for non-violent criminal offenses of cannabis. Fortified infrastructure, social programs. A lot of the money that's coming out of the cannabis industry is slated to go into high impact zones. Current marijuana laws. So this map just shows you that there's some form of cannabis throughout the country. Almost every state has, whether it be recreational, medical, CBD, low THC, medical only. There's some form. Most of the people in the US are living with a availability to get cannabis, especially as a medicine. And I have to apologize. I've been losing my voice for the past couple of days, so I'm going to start getting raspy. So recommending products. This is the way we in the industry, when you come into our dispensary, this is one of the ways we introduce products to you. I speak to you, we allow our patients to have the ability to sit down with a wellness associate in a private consultation room if they'd like. And we go over what the patient's issues and goals are. We discuss the time of the medication. When do you take your medication? When do you need it? How the duration of the medicine. Select terpenes based on goals. Choose ratios based on experience and determine best way to consume. There are longer term acting products, capsule, distillate, a solution. Some of these are not available in New Jersey, but they are available in other states. I put them in here. They're longer acting. They last, some of them last up to 8 hours. Short-term cartridges, tincture, smoking flower has a shorter duration than taking something that's an edible. And also if you take an edible with something soluble like a peanut butter or something fat, that also helps your body absorb it and the duration lasts longer. This is a view from our Phillipsburg dispensary, which we opened in November of this year. This is our Maplewood dispensary. I just wanted to show you that the dispensaries are really warm, inviting places that patients go to and they feel comfortable because it feels like an experience and also it's non-threatening. One of the things that we provide within our company is we try to think of initiatives all the time. So one of the ones we did was we did 10% of all sales will be donated to the Maplewood Township Alliance. That's one of the towns that we have our flagship store is in Maplewood. I work with law enforcement. I go in and I teach law enforcement on the different forms of cannabis that's allowed. We talk about the law. We talk about, most cops have never seen a medical marijuana card. I show them mine, which is the worst picture ever. And they're under strict law not to laugh at me. But it's something that the conversation needs to be started and something that needs to be engaged, because I find that most police officers don't know what the laws are surrounding this product, and it's going to be adult use, and it's ever changing. I would like to invite you to ask some questions. I know I had some brought up, and I would also like to point out that right before this happened, before I came on, my presentation actually glitched on me. So some of my slides are missing. So I would welcome an open forum conversation, because I think there's a number of you that have questions. I have some of them sent to me, but if Kenneth is okay, I will start answering them. Would you like me to do it that way?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have the questions, Diana, you're more than welcome to go through them.
Perfect. I'll go through them. If I know the answers, I'll give them to you. Have businesses banking and payment process services in the industry improved? No, they really have not, because we are a cash-only product, because we are still a federally illegal item. So the federal law prohibits us from banking regularly. So most of our banking is done through credit unions. Our facilities provide ATMs, or we have something called CanPay, which is a direct debit. It's specifically for the cannabis industry, and it is something that we encourage our customers to download onto their phone. It works with like a debit card, but no, our banking has not gotten easier yet. There is legislation that is looking to change the Banking Act, but nothing has happened as of yet. What are the long-term issues with your mental state after being dependent on marijuana and then stopping the continued use of the drug? Well, it's funny, because marijuana has not been found to be a gateway drug. What it has been found over and over is it has gotten people off of alcoholism and heroin. It actually has served as a means to get off of harder addictions, because again, it's a natural plant and it works with your endocannabinoid system. So it just gives you that leveled out feeling that most people are looking for. How can the marijuana industry help those who are currently serving for possession? We are, as an industry, are really proactive with trying to have expungement. I know that we were actually going to be hosting an event until we found out that the courts in New Jersey just changed and released, like I said, 88,000 non-violent cannabis infractions, and those infractions apparently are going to be completely, the records are going to be sealed, which will help those individuals also get employment, which is enormous. How does one begin to get involved, invest in the industry? Well, that is dependent on who your stockbroker is, and I'll tell you why, because I actually, right before I got into the industry, had to change who I had my 401k with, because some of the bigger brokerage firms do not allow investment in cannabis. So I switched. So that's one way, is call around and do your market research. See who, there's a couple of big players in the industry. They're called MSOs, multi-state operators, but there's also going to be a lot of smaller investment opportunities, because micro licenses, which are smaller licenses that are going to be given out in New Jersey, they're going to be unlimited. So I'm going to explain it as we're almost like a Coors or a Budweiser, the MSOs, and then the micro licenses are going to be almost like a microbrewery. So possibly that way. What cannabinoids do you consider to be the best? I actually am not that proficient. I'll tell you, we have a pharmacist that I work with that answers more of those questions because, or how do you consider, just because I think it's really subjective. Cannabis is a dosing journey. The product does not work the same on every single individual who uses it. So it's not like a Tylenol. You take a Tylenol, you know what a Tylenol is going to do. Our body responds differently. So for me, for example, I'll disclose that cannabis for some reason gives me energy. I've even tried very high indica and, you know, expect to be sleeping and I'm wide awake. That's just the way my body reacts to cannabis. So I'll use it more if I want to go hiking, if I want to do something physical and active. And you should, I always tell people, start slow and low, because sometimes it takes time for it to hit your system. And I've had people say, well, I took an edible, for example, and I waited 20 minutes and then I took another one. And now it takes edibles, for example, sometimes don't hit your system for 40 minutes up to an hour. So really take your time. And if you're going to try adult use cannabis, if you're not a medical patient, once adult use is legal, really be mindful that every single person's body reacts differently. And if you have anxiety, for example, then be mindful of the THC, the higher THC. Sometimes that triggers people who are not comfortable. What are some of the boards to serve on? It depends. I serve on our medical board here at work, but I'm not sure what this person is asking. So if they're on here and they'd like to elaborate, I'd love to hear it. Is it now legal to do business of cannabis after obtaining license? So if the person is asking if there's the licenses or have already been granted, there's 19 of them still waiting to come out from a lawsuit that is still pending from 2019. And there's going to be micro licenses coming out in the near future. How do you get a job within the cannabis industry? Honestly, talk to everyone and anyone you know and ask as many questions as you can. There's so many, like I mentioned before, there's so many ancillary businesses that are needed to support this new sector that don't look at it as just plant touching. Think about it as marketing. Think about packaging. Think about delivery. Think about warehouse. Think about HR. I mean, we needed to hire an HR person. We needed to hire a procurement person. We needed to hire, I'm just thinking about my own office. We just hired an in-house counsel because we had counsel from other places, but we decided we needed one in office. So this industry is growing, and it's just hiring for every single sector that you would imagine in a different company or a different environment. How can I be part of the growth? Again, ask question, research, go on LinkedIn, connect yourself to as many people as possible, follow the webinars, read as many books as you can. It really is an industry that changes so quickly. I spend like 4 hours a day just reading on the industry because in New Jersey alone, it changes that much. I think it's going to slow down once we actually implement adult use, but for right now, the law is constantly changing. How can we help the business or be part of the business? Again, you know, think about all the ancillary businesses that are going to be needed. I'm concerned about people being under the influence of cannabis while driving. I am too, to tell you the truth. I think it takes personal responsibility the same way that driving does. I think that if you're going to consume, you have to plan it the same way you would if you're going out with your friends and you're going to have a couple of drinks. I know that my husband and I have that conversation. Are you driving? Am I driving? Oh, we both would like to have a little bit of fun, then we're going to Uber there. And I think cannabis is the same kind of conversation that's needed and personal responsibility. What's the first steps in creating a business with cannabis? Well, it depends. Are you actually going to be a micro license holder, or are you going to be an ancillary business that's going to support it? What's the percentage of THC in dried marijuana leaves? Depends on the strain. And I wish my head grower was here because he would talk your ear off. That kid loves talking about cannabis, from the genetics to the science to everything else. How can an immigrant get involved and work in the marijuana industry? That, unfortunately, not yet. I hope that changes. Right now, to work in the industry, you have to pass a background check. All of us had to have a complete, and I'm talking every single person that works from our dispensaries to our grow, have to be fingerprinted and run and pass a background check and have legal working papers. So if you have, because I am first generation here and I had a green card and I got my citizenship. So if you have a green card, then yes, you could work in the cannabis industry. What are the current potential risks associated with this industry? Criminals, financial, etc. So we are the most regulated industry I've ever come across. I think we're a cross between a liquor store and a casino. Liquor store because you have to be of age when adult use comes into play, and a casino because every single ounce, every single space in our dispensaries and our grow has a camera, and not just a camera, but a live feed camera to the DOH. So like in a casino, anywhere you touch money, here, anywhere you could touch product, there's a camera on you. So we're really, and in our dispensaries, for example, we have live panic buttons that go to the police department. There's no delay. The police departments that we are, like in Phillipsburg and Maplewood, they know our buildings inside and out. They understand where the cameras are. They understand where the entrance and exit points are. We're very open door policy to the police departments. So knock on wood, have not had any criminal issues. How is cannabis being used in food products, and does New Jersey regulate it yet? Yes, we still do not have a lot of availability for food that's infused with cannabis. I mean, people can always make their own. We now sell something that's in a syringe form that I've had friends, make their own butter, and then they're able to incorporate it in their baking. I'm a terrible baker, so no one asked me to do it. But so as far as does New Jersey regulate it? Yes, you can't make brownies and go out and sell them because that would be illegal. And that is the end of the questions that I got on prior.
Yep. Hey, Diana. So,
Yes.
I was just taking some notes from the chat here of some other questions that came in.
Sure.
And, I think one of the recurring themes, I think, in everybody's questions is, it's a lot about experience. How do I get the experience? Where do I find jobs? So I guess first question is, do you recommend, are there any job boards that you can go to that your industry, the industry has, that you can go and look for jobs?
So I know for us, we post all of our jobs on Indeed, as do most of the big guys in the industry. In the next, I want to say 6 months to 8 months, there's going to be an influx of people hiring in this industry because, like I mentioned, there's going to be a release of the license holders that are currently being held up in the state. And there's also going to be a lot of micro processors opening up. So I would just say, just keep your eyes and ears open and constantly Indeed, any of the job forums, and tell everyone. That's what I did. That's how I got my break, is I told every single person I knew, I want to get into cannabis. I want to get into cannabis. And the next thing I knew, someone sent me an article about Hamilton Farm turning into a grow. So I think that's true in anything in life. If you just put it out in the universe and tell everyone, they're going to keep you in mind.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that people are interested in is, the degree, right? Are there any, degrees out there that I can get that will give me a greater advantage of getting a job or getting, into the industry?
So I know there are programs that Ramapo College, I believe, is hosting one. I'm trying to talk FDU into doing one. I mean, we have a pharmaceutical department, and I think that most colleges should start offering some sort of, if not just even an elective on this subject, because it is such a diverse industry in that, yes, it's the plant, but it's everything that supports the plant and how to market the plant and the laws behind it. For example, there's so many laws, like we're not allowed to advertise. We by law are not allowed to advertise that we're a pot seller. So there's ways that you have to, like, your marketing has to get very interesting, to say the least. So those are there. I would say experience is the #1 degree. That's what most people are looking for. When we hire, we look for someone who has a passion, who has, dedication, and there's really no demand for a degree yet. That might change in the future, but I haven't seen it, not in this industry.
Now, one of the questions you mentioned earlier that the cannabis isn't approved at the federal level. Do you think is there any talks of it being approved? When will it be approved at the federal level?
Yes, so there is definitely talks. I don't know if you've been watching the news, but even Judge Thompson, the most conservative judge on the Supreme Court, is like, why is it still illegal? I mean, he just put out a statement, literally holding up his hands going, I don't get it. Like, it's legal in most of the US, let's just legalize it. So I think the momentum is there. If you have someone that conservative saying this is ridiculous, let's just legalize it, then it's definitely there. It's just no rule or law has been written yet that has stuck. And I think it's one of those things that I think it's being added on to other things and not standing on its own yet.
And then just one last question here in the chat I'm seeing here is, would you be interested in, or I guess, is there any value in administering or having cannabis without the THC, but having the same effects?
Oh, sure. I mean, CBD is known to, it's an anti-inflammatory. It's a great painkiller. So yes, I personally, I'm going to talk from my own experience. I prefer something with a very low THC because it makes me paranoid and I don't like the heady feeling. I prefer a body high with a touch of, a little bit, I call it the wine effect, that first glass of wine, and you just kind of feel relaxed. So yeah, there are people who love high THC. I personally get turned off of it. So yes, there definitely is a benefit to either no THC or just a little bit.
Excellent. And I guess I have a couple of questions here on supply chain and business development within TerrAscend. Can you talk a little bit about that process in terms of, you talk about you have your grow facilities and all that. What's it like, from beginning to end for the company?
So we have the grow facility here in New Jersey. We grow all of our plants. We actually use clones. So we grow the plants and we try the sour head grower. Nick would yell at me right now because I'm gonna completely botch his whole system. He's like, it's way more complicated than that. But we start from seed. And then we use cloning, because if we find a mother plant that has the ideal size, shape, terpenes, everything that we're looking for, then we'll clone her and go from there. I also want to add that New Jersey is a seed to sale state, which means that every single seed that comes into our grow gets counted out. And as one of the guys who had to count over 800 seeds when we first started will tell you, it's a very painful process. And every single seed is given a serial number, and that serial number follows that plant all through its life course. And sometimes those plants don't make it further than a sapling or whatnot, because, and that's not the right word, and I know it, and some of you weed people are going to come at me, but I'm sorry, I forgot the word right now. But if it doesn't go into maturity, we destroy the plant, and then we have to get rid of, in the state system, we have to get rid of that serial number. And the reason they do this is because it's highly regulatory, and it also is how we pay taxes on the product.
Thank you for that. And one last question that just came in. Can you talk a little bit about Delta 8? Not the COVID, but Delta 8, which apparently is very popular right now.
It is, and highly dangerous. And highly dangerous. And I'll tell you why, because it is completely unregulated, and it could be distilled with anything that they feel like mixing it with. And I've had people who are, let's get real. I work in the industry, and a lot of people in the industry don't hide that they try everything, because we don't have to. We can talk openly. And I've had people who have been patients for a very long time, who've dabbled in cannabis for a very long time, tell me that Delta 8 has completely messed them up and they would never try it again. So I personally am terrified, because if these are people who have a lot more experience than I do and it messed them up, I wouldn't try it. And it's not regulated. And I'm just one of those people that, you know, unless my family makes the moonshine on their farm in Poland, I'm not going to drink your moonshine.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana. I don't know about all of you on the webinar, but I learned a lot tonight about this, stuff that I didn't know. But I think it was great. It was great, Diana, having you walk us through this rapidly changing and growing industry. Bad pun intended there.
No.
But I think it's, you know, as you said, you know, I think this is an important thing for us all to know and learn about. It's kind of the direction of where everything is going, and knowledge is power. So thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your patience with me. I'm sorry I lost some of my slides, but I love the questions, and I'd love to revisit this once an adult use comes back in, because I think it's going to be a completely different subject matter, because the rules and laws regarding that are just being written now and hopefully coming to us soon, and we'll see what that market looks like.
Absolutely, Diana. We're always here, so you know, okay. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us tonight. Please be sure to visit our website, support.fu.edu. This is where you can find out about upcoming events, webinars, and updates on what's happening. One important note I did want to share with all of you that Homecoming is on September 25th, 2021, and it'll be on the Florham campus. Yes, Florham campus. We're not doing Zoom for Homecoming. Our hope is that we will have the football game. We'll have a pregame party. We are still trying to figure out the logistics of planning an in-person event. We want to make sure that we have a fun and exciting event for everybody, but at the same time, being mindful of the pandemic and everything that's happening at that moment. So stay tuned to your emails, stay tuned to our website for more information on Homecoming. And I personally, I know many of you, I recognize the names. Many of you have jumped on Zoom with us since last year. You know, so we've gone on about, you know, almost 16, 18 months of this. And I can't wait to meet all of you in person at Homecoming. So until then, please stay safe,